The Jedi have been keepers of the peace and justice in the galaxy longer than even hyperspace travel has been a thing in the Star Wars universe, and in that time, they have gone to war with a great many powerful enemies, with their most formidable enemy rising to take the form of the Sith Empire. When the Sith emerged, they boasted some of the most powerful technology and weaponry of war that the galaxy had ever seen at that time. It was even suggested that the Sith were the ones who pioneered modern lightsaber technology. The Jedi had to rise to the challenge in order to meet their now imposing strength. In the Jedi's case, this meant fashioning their own war-centered amenities in order to defend against their newly risen threat. This era would usher in the use of Jedi battle armor into vogue. Despite it going against all the tenets of peacekeepers, the Jedi had deformed themselves into a militaristic organizations more times than the Jedi would like to admit, or more times than they would want the galaxy to know. Mostly in order to deal with the Sith returning every couple hundreds of years to wreak havoc on the galaxy. Much to the chagrin of many Jedi within the Order, they had to don the battle armor and meet their adversaries each time on the field. But there did come a day when both the Jedi and Sith would cease to have armor as their primary kit. This would be until the Clone Wars, when Jedi generals would take on a variation of clone armor, this being exceedingly rare and something that the Jedi had supposedly given up. But why was this? Why did the Jedi and the Sith give up the use of battle armor? Well, stick with us today, curious students of the Force, as we take a look at the history of the Jedi and Sith battle armor, and ultimately attempt to conclude why they stopped wearing it. Our first occurrence of Jedi armor is noted in legends as being an early use of Pius Dea era, wherein the first Jedi Grandmaster of the Jedi Order, Master Biel Ductaves, led the Jedi into war against the Pius Deu, who were a sinister religious organization that had taken over the Republic, and were attempting to spread their prejudiced crusade against alien species. During this era, the Jedi would wear full-body metal armor with horned helmets to boot. This armor was to be recognized, as it would be immortalized in galactic history as the sign of the light side and the Jedi Order. In the centuries following, the Jedi didn't use armor so much during the Great Hyperspace War, as the Sith Empire had seemingly come from nowhere and the conflict started and ended quite suddenly. Therefore, the Jedi simply did not have time to construct battle armor. However, following the Great Hyperspace War, the Jedi would once again construct armor and wear it in the Great Galactic War as well as the Cold War whenever the Sith Empire returned. It wouldn't be until the new Sith Wars that the Jedi in the Army of Light would choose to wear battle armor yet again. Some did though, and others did not, as it was a personal preference at the time, and was not the status quo. Though a great many Jedi chose the armor as they were having to pack into tight formation and very close amongst their comrades, this being the case, freedom of movement was limited, which meant that many Jedi couldn't exactly use their agility to their advantage when in the chaos of a battle. Their armor was built to have a healthy balance between movement and protection. However, a great many Jedi who wore armor preferred to emphasize protection over anything else. This was until the ultimate devastation of the planet of Ruusan due to the Thought Bomb. For those of you unfamiliar with the Thought Bomb, this was a Sith ritual that was created by a massive orb of energy that was like a nuclear attack that only affected Force wielders. Before, Lord Khan, who was the leader of the Sith and the Brotherhood of Darkness, could have it reach full power, 100 Jedi from the Army of Light went down and forced them to detonate the Thought Bomb early in order to contain the explosion. All the Jedi and Sith in those caverns were obliterated, and the entire planet became a wasteland. Following this, the entire Republic voted on the Ruusan Reformation, which was an order from the Jedi and the Republic to disband the Army of Light, and only go to war when the Senate deemed it appropriate, therefore ending the military ways of the Jedi Order, at least for the time. This was due to all of the stress that the new Sith Wars had on the galaxy, and the devastation of Ruusan was the final straw. At this point in time, and from now on, the Jedi ceased to wear armor entirely, not only because of the Ruusan Reformation, but because the armor represents war, and the Jedi wanted to step away from this image. Armor in itself is for warriors and soldiers. The Jedi considered themselves, though, to be monks and keepers of the peace, which is why they began to exclusively wear robes until the very beginning of the Clone Wars, almost 1,000 years following this significant event. Sith armor, on the other hand, had an intricate history heavily ingrained in the Sith cultures. From the Sith purebloods of Korriban to the Brotherhood of Darkness, Sith armor was considered to be a vital source of their cause. On Korriban, oftentimes certain pieces of armor were considered symbols of status or power among the Sith ranks. In battle, the Sith had optimized their armor to provide flexibility as well as better protection. Not only this, but they made it just as fashionable questionable as it was functional, with the Sith oftentimes ensuring that the armor would provide ample amounts of intimidation to their unlucky opponents, which was a key in their strategies. A lot of times, specific armor would be designed for certain types of Sith in order to easily identify their rank in the midst of combat. For example, a Sith Lord's armor would be vastly different in comparison to that of a Sith Marauder or a Sith Assassin. They would also adorn their armor with different markings and trophies that they would claim in combat. However, this would all be changed by Darth Bane following the Ruusan reformation and the formation of the Sith Rule of Two. Of course though, Darth Bane is quite famous for wearing armor, as for a long time he was known for his iconic Orbalisk armor. Bane, though, only had the Orbalisk armor due to them having latched onto him, so it wasn't exactly by his freedom of choice. Bane was not a man who cared anything about tradition, values, nor doctrine. He believed only in the philosophy of the Sith and the Rule of Two, and cared only what was proven to be useful. For Bane, even wealth and power were only a means to an end to achieve this power in the Force. And Darth Bane regarded anything that didn't have immediate usefulness as a waste of time, and therefore undeserving of any attention from the Sith. This would include the likes of armor, at least for the time being. You see, once Darth Bane established the Sith Rule of Two, the Sith were to go underground and hide away from the galaxy. They had to be in the shadows and live amongst the common people. You can't exactly blend in if you're walking around the streets in a full suit of spiked, black-plated armor. In fact, during the entire time that Bane had the Orbalisk armor on him, he had to send his apprentice Zana out on errands in order to get anything done, not wanting to give himself away in the slightest. Although the Orbalisk gave him power and protection, he was ultimately hindered by them, so he had to get rid of the armor. This sentiment by Darth Bane would be carried down the line of Sith, and over time, the idea of wearing armor fell out of style completely for darkside wielders, as they now focused entirely on blending in and bringing about the grand plan of the Sith. Shows of strength were done in the shadows and were to be kept secret, waiting for the perfect opportunity. Now, of course, though, we must talk about the Clone Wars. In the Clone Wars, Jedi would once again don armor once the outbreak of the Republic and the Separatists came. At this point in time, a great many Jedi generals exclusively wore the variations of clone armor on their forearms and legs below the knee. This was because the armor provided genuine protection for their hands when wielding lightsabers. On a normal basis, Jedi wouldn't care much about this. However, when they were having to fight in large battlefields with debris and laser bolts flying every which way, they had to ensure that their hands would stay protected so that they could continue to use their lightsabers. Also, the arm guards provided an easily accessible comm link and in some cases even contained a grappling hook. The shin guards and armored boots provided similar protection to the Jedi from debris, but was also useful when traversing more natural environments. Since the battlefield was on a great variety of planets, each with their own unique biomes, the Jedi had to make sure that their feet were protected when slogging through swamps, stepping over potentially corrosive flora, and climbing up sheer mountaintops. In the early stages of the war, Obi-Wan and Anakin wore a lot more armor than at the end of the Clone Wars, going as far as using even breastplates, shoulder plates, and full arms of clone armor. This was mostly to indicate their allegiance and devotion to their clone troopers, who had grown quite fond of the Jedi. At one point in time, Obi-Wan went as far as even wearing a clone commander's helmet during the Battle of Moonalist when jousting against Dirge. The Jedi, however, would begin to drop the armor towards the latter stages of the Clone Wars, as their approval rating amongst the wider galaxy had begun to plummet, and many of the galaxy were seeing them only as soldiers. But of course, it would ultimately prove to be far too late for them to attempt to return to their formal dress code and the robes. Well friends, what did you think of the video? Have you been wondering about this topic? And we hope we explored it in depth enough in this video. Do you think that the Jedi and Sith should have continued to use their battle armor? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, students of the Force, may the Force be with you and have a great day.